bring this meeting to call to order. So welcome everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Did you get my email, Cheryl? I'm sorry that was kind of delayed, but I hope you got it at the last minute. I did a national salary survey somewhere.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Okay, it came in about an hour ago, I would guess, and it'll be useful for our conversation tonight. I know Ann's gotten a copy of it. You were first.
I got it too, Lynn.
Okay.
Oh, did you send it to my work address?
I don't know. Whatever comes up when I do Cheryl. Yeah.
Well, it varies.
Okay, and maybe that's the only address I have for you, Cheryl. I don't know.
Cheryl, it was sent to your work address. I can forward it now.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for recognizing that, Denise. I did not.
That'll save me from the protocol for signing in for work. All right. So I guess I have to read through the required text here.
Oh yeah.
How fun.
So regarding the audibility of members' voices, I just want to say welcome to the meeting of the Executive Committee of the Fairfax County History Commission. Each member of this board is participating in this meeting from a separate location. We must verify that a quorum of members is participating, and each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume. So I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member to state your name and the location from which you are participating. I will ask that you pay close attention and ensure that you can hear each other. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. So Ann Stuntz.
I'm in Vienna.
Lynn Harvey Garvey.
Lynn's good enough. Hi there, I'm Springfield District.
Jordan Tannenbaum. Did Jordan not join us so far?
I did send him an email too. That's the same one I sent you. I hope I got it.
Steve Sherman.
Yeah, Steve Sherman, Franconia.
And Elise, I don't think joined us either yet.
Oh, is Elise joining us too? Because I need to send that on to her.
She was invited, but I haven't received anything from her.
Okay.
Denise, can you see if Jordan is trying to, wasn't he on at one point? Hadn't he come in?
No, I haven't Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah, I did send him the
link.
link.
He just sent an email. I got that. He said, do you have a link for this evening, Lynn? So Denise, you might want to resend that to him.
Huh, okay.
All right. So at this point, I'm going to pass the gavel on to Lynn, and so that I might be heard to make this motion. I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board, and by each other. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anne was saying aye.
That was Lynn.
Aye.
I said aye also.
Okay, and I heard
aye.
Steve. Thank you. All right, so that motion passes. The need for the electronic meeting. Having established that each member's voice may be heard, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these procedures. The fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to the meeting. For the second motion, I therefore move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend. And as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require physical assembly and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented. I further move that the board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated telephone line, and that public may access to this meeting by WebEx virtual meeting. The specifications of those are found in the public meeting calendar. It is so moved.
Second.
Thank you, Anne. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Ayes have it. Last, we need to finally, it is next required that all matters on today's agenda must address the state of the emergency health, are necessary for the continuity of the Fairfax County government, or are statutorily required and necessary to continue operation and discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody disagree here?
I don't think
Any
so.
nays or?
We ought to just do one and play it over and over.
Yeah, all right. I think we're good. All right, let's get to the substance of tonight's meeting.
You know, I didn't get to print out a copy of the agenda, Cheryl, so am I missing anything big there?
I didn't send out any kind of formal agenda.
Oh, okay. All right.
We just have three basic questions to go through. First question is, you know, and I actually did send out an email, Lynn, that you should have gotten, but although it was I only sent it out like 17 minutes before at 7:17. But and that has the material that I had sent previously, a little bit updated.
All right, let me see if I can pull that, because what I sent out too, I would like us to at least take 3 or 4 minutes to review, especially you, Cheryl.
That's a great question, a great idea.
Because I did a lot of research on this, and
Yeah,
I
no, excellent.
think we ought to go into this informed. Okay, let me find your stuff while you're finding my stuff.
Well, actually, Lynn, the first question that I want to deal with, so while I'm pulling this up, is the description of the job description that
Oh, okay.
was
Great.
sent out earlier, hasn't changed. I sent it out again, you know, just for convenience.
Mhm.
Did anybody have any issues or wish to see any changes in that description? That's based on what they wrote up for the ARB clerk.
You know, one of the things that the email I sent Cheryl, and
I see it says it has go ahead.
it had job description information in it. So I don't know if we want to take a deep breath and read over that and come back to this. You know, I don't know. I don't want to tell you how to run your meeting, but I also want us to make sure that we do this kind of decently and orderly.
Sure.
What do you recommend?
Well, okay. Some of this is for a secretary of a board, which is a different position and function.
Well, yes and no, not really. We basically are a board.
I know, but the clerk is not a secretary.
She's a recording, but she's like a recording secretary because she takes the minutes.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
like,
you know, that's all she does is take the minutes.
and develop. Sorry, I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that all she does is take the minutes. That's it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is a lot less than some of the rest of these other recording secretary expectations. So
Exactly.
if that being the case, and given the dollar amount I've got associated with this, it would seem that therefore she would, or he would be making less than what I have outlined here. So I would see that.
Is that a duck?
No. No, it isn't. You're hearing things.
Okay.
Maybe not.
All right. Um, yeah, Lynn, all the job description content here is really, it's more Steve's job.
It's what now?
I mean, most of the the description of the tasks that you have here in terms of the secretary of the board,
Mhm.
those all sound like the kinds of things that Steve does.
Well,
Some of the things that I would
no,
do,
some of a lot of it's what Denise does, actually.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, what Denise does. I mean, for that job description, what you have, Lynn, is something for, let's say, if a water company, my brother was on the board of directors of the Lynchburg Water Company, and that would be a secretary for that, a paid position. And actually, when he was on the board of directors of a water company, he was getting paid a couple $100 a meeting. But that's for something like that. So this it doesn't apply to me, but most of it is what Denise really does, is to supply the information, the forms and things like that.
Exactly. So
Right.
that is exactly my point. Is we're really only asking for minutes to be drafted.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and I've done all this math to figure out an hourly rate, that means our hourly rate should be even less. That's what I'm suggesting.
Okay. But to get back to just the sort of first item on the agenda would be the job description for this position. So see if this sounds correct then to you then. The History Commission is hiring a part-time clerk.
I've got that. I've got it in front of me, sweetie. It's
okay, great.
I'm good.
So is there anybody who has any issues with anything here in terms of how it's described, whether it doesn't capture all the things or it over describes, list of attendees, captures the discussion at the meetings, documents motions and votes.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty thorough. I will say this, and I know Elise has said this at other meetings. You do know our minutes are over and above in content what we probably really need. So I don't know if this is the time we talk about that or not, but we may want to consider that. Because typically with minutes, there may be a brief review of the discussion, but for our minutes to go on to 17 pages or whatever, that's a little over the top. Now, I also can see, and I tend to be personally a little bit more detail oriented, the gift of having some detail. But I don't know how often we've ever really needed to go back into minutes and secure a revision or review of what has already been documented in the minutes. I don't know.
Yeah,
So let me throw that out as
the guidance minute takers, the little organizations, is you really say you just have to report on what was done, not
right.
what was said. That said, I think they're really, if you view it as a record of everything we do, having all the staff reports and stuff, I mean, that the staff reports anyway tend to be given to the minute taker by the person giving the report. And a lot of the committee reports are that way too.
Exactly. So that
it
helps.
what I always like about them is that it gives me my eyes another chance to see the staff reports.
Oh,
I mean, otherwise they can wash over you in a meeting And
That's
then you see
actually-
them later and you go, oh, that's what she was, no offense, Denise. Oh, that's what she was talking about. So I don't mind, I don't think it's hard on a minute taker to paste in a document that
Sure,
here's
cut and paste it.
sent. Now, is it overkill? Well, I don't mind it. I'm just looking back over ARB. Of course, they're kind of a regulatory body, so they're a little different.
Yeah.
They can go up to 19 pages. That's not their normal to be that long. In 2020, their average was probably in the 12 or 13 pages each.
Well, and I think, and to what you just said, there is a legitimate reason as a regulatory body for
Right.
them to have a little bit more dissection of the discussion documented, because someone someday may need to come back to that and make sure. Now, really, we're
You can probably be sued on something that the ARB talks about, whereas
but not us.
ours are less momentous somehow.
And yeah.
yeah.
Well, they're not as I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they're not as safety oriented.
Yeah.
And
also, but given that my favorite part, and because I'm part of a number of historic organizations, I love the overkill of minutes. Virginia Room, hopefully, how the Virginia Room tries to adhere to the state document retention law or rules, even with respect to the History Commission, which is arguably appalling, then hopefully they at least in perpetuity will keep our minutes, which means it's all the more important for them to be full, because there may not be much else of a historic record of our organization. And I say that because we might want to meet with them and double check what it is they do keep.
yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And this is a bit tangential. But one of the realities that occurred to me years ago when I was chair is that it's kind of ironic that the History Committee, or the History Commission, excuse me, the History Commission doesn't really have someone on our team that's a historian for all we do.
Yes.
That's
what the Virginia Room sort of is supposed to be. They are our records
historians.
are.
Okay.
They were, I mean, by our, what do you call that thing? Our charter, our resolution. I believe that says, certainly the bylaws say, that our records are to be kept by the Virginia Room, but it doesn't define what our records are. So they're not technically our historians. They're not keeping scrapbooks of every year of all of our pictures and press clippings.
Well, you know what though, Anne? I didn't know this until recently. I had, when I moved, a plethora of History Commission items. And I'll tell you, at one time, History Commission boxes were in people's garages. I mean, I think that goes for a lot of groups, a lot of nonprofit volunteer groups.
I have 20 boxes of Air Hill Garden Club archives at my house.
Well, okay. There you go. Case confirmed. But what I didn't realize, I called Chris one day and I said, Chris, I've got all this stuff. I've got Clifton history. I've got stuff from Burke. I've got stuff, from Springfield and some of the stuff Jack Hill. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. And I said, what do you want me to do with this? And he said, well, Lynn, we're going to start a Lynn Garvey Hodge archive. And I kind of laughed, but then I thought, it sort of depends on what it is they choose to keep. Because then later on, Chris circled back to me and said, Lynn, a lot of that stuff we already had. But still, it was useful for someone to cull through it because I didn't know who was there or what they had rather. And the way
Frankly, it should be one of us,
I would
or
think.
a little gang of us once we can meet again. But that's not this meeting. But it is a good thing to revisit because we don't want to get there and find they were gonna. I bet you they got rid of a lot of financial records, and I was like, oh no, don't do it.
Oh God, no, that's definitely something you want to keep.
But they might have already. I mean, there was a letter from Brian Con says, you Virginia, you only have to keep what Virginia retention rules say. I'm like, really? Well, that pretty much cuts out everything you do for a living at the Virginia room.
Right.
Okay, back to clerk. I think it's a good job description. Is that where we were, or have I?
Yeah, that's where we were.
Yep, sounds good.
And I guess in terms of just in terms of definition and nomenclature here, in my head, a clerk would be paid less than a board secretary, and maybe that's where you were headed, Steve. I don't know.
This is my opinion. You know, I saw your email, and it's a whole different type of thing. But I think we should go.
Really?
Well, we were talking earlier prior to the meeting that if we right now the pay is set at $565 per meeting. Okay, so if we offer less or offer more, then we still need a commission vote on that. So what we're trying to decide today is what amount should we offer for the position. You see, so. I think Denise is saying that they have one or two people that possibly would take the position. So the discussion here tonight was really how much do you want to offer for the position? Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's the central question.
And what is it worth in the marketplace? I was astounded to discover, you probably saw in my email, that the Fairfax Burke area has a lot of these kinds of secretary positions open, and obviously that's a broad term, and then I distilled it down to just so many hours a month. But I was astounded there were that many in this area. I would not have guessed that. Anyway, for whatever that's worth.
So if we sort of move on to the issue of pay, I know that Barbara shared a few remarks with me as well. Is there a general sense? Well, Steve, what do you think about the 565? Do you think that's something we should maintain, or do you think it's okay to roll back?
I think we got somebody good. I think that would be okay because remember they're not netting. Initially, it was a net pay. I think $400, $500, whatever it was. But then once the county took over, then there's the Social Security. So they're paying the lady people's Social Security too. So it's a sort of a funny way to how they're doing that. But somewhere in that ballpark, you can drop it down to 500. But then if you get paid 500, but if we don't pay the Social Security, then that drops it down to 7.5% less than that. That's down to like 450 or something like that. And if you get 500, then the people are paying their Social Security. So we have to keep that in mind. If we're going to pay the people Social Security, so it's not like a net to them. Look, we give you 450. You see, so that's two issues right there. But in that ballpark, and you can't go by an average what you wrote there in your letter because Fairfax County is one of the highest in the top 5 of income levels for positions here.
That's
so we're not
why I used my number 3 there on my piece. Steve, let me ask you something. What would the Social Security be for the 450?
Well, usually for the employee pays 7.5%. Okay, and then the employer pays 7.5%. So without knowing the breakdown, it appears to me that the county is paying the employees 7.5% for them, and then on the back end, they're probably paying another 7.5% for the employer's end.
Okay, it's $31. It's $31.50. So that takes us up to about $485 to be a little bit extra generous.
Yeah, that's right. It's $484.43 would be our cost.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I would,
so-
I'd be happier starting there. And the reason is not that we couldn't get to where Steve's suggesting, but it gives us some wiggle room. If we have somebody for 4 or 5 years periodically, we can give them a little raise. We can give them a little
Yes.
raise. If we
Yeah.
start at 565, we don't, I mean, nationally, locally, within the county, we don't have a lot of wiggle room. We're major top end there. So that would be my
Well,
concern.
you know, for our budget, I mean, we just gave away $27,000 last month. So, you know, I wasn't for that, but that's a big chunk of money, and equivalent over $20 or $30 per month for secretary to recorder like that. That's up to you. But no, I agree that the 484, whatever it is, that sounds okay to me. Mm-hmm.
And Steve, I hear you on the 27K. That is highly unusual and highly not customary. You know, to use that.
Yeah, I know that. But
So-
anyway, that's just my opinion on that. That's just because if somebody saw that. I'm just bringing this up, not to, you know, get into. I'd rather not bring it up. I just because we're being recorded. But yeah, so I agree with the pay schedule that you guys had suggested. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just want to read to you with regard to this particular point, what Barbara shared with me, which is I also think that 515 with commensurate tax costs is probably a more realistic wage for this job. Meeting hours might be an imposition, but the rest of the job is done within the convenience of the minute taker. I think if we were anyway, so that's so, you know, she's of the similar inclination, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to do, you know, like we were going to give Win a $50 a month and then something. I'd like to see if after a year we get somebody in there, we can go back and say, okay, 450 next year, it's 500. I'd like that dollar amount as a way to kind of keep somebody a bit incentivized to stay with us. Because whoever takes this position, I can tell you just institutionally, they're not going to be here for like 15 years. That's not going to happen. I think we were lucky to have Win as long as we did.
Yeah.
She's been the longest secretary around clerk I've seen since
But
I've been.
you know, but I think some of her frustration came from because she started at the top end.
Yeah.
There was no interest in any of us to give her a raise because she always felt so well paid, even 15 years later.
Right. So
I think also there was an increase in the number of hours that she was working because she was producing more and more detailed minutes. So, you know, if we are not demanding as much detail in the minutes,
yeah,
then there's, you know, a little bit more, because one of the difficulties is that we are not paying per hour, we're paying per month.
right.
But don't forget, they you know, I'm not necessarily a fan of shorter minutes because I do get something out of them. And if a certain number of pages are cut and paste, then it just isn't hard. I mean, you know,
It's not.
any one of
I
us
agree.
on this phone call could do these minutes without too much trouble.
Yeah.
Except for
Well,
Steve, who wouldn't dare.
Are you volunteering, Anne? May I cut in for just a moment? Because I went back to read the minutes and the motion, just so we have that established.
Thank you.
It says, yes, a motion was made by Commissioner Naif, seconded by Commissioner Peters, that the History Commission increase the monthly fee for the clerk from $515 to $565, and to increase the fee by the cost of living increases, the COLA, that the county issues for the employees when those apply. The commission voted to make this increase effective with the January meeting. So
that kind of kills the whole conversation we just had, and I would like to suggest we override that if there's a way we can, because that kind of got thrown at us without their executive committee even having a conversation about it.
The purpose of that motion was only to deal with Winifred.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? Are we clear about that?
I am.
Denise, is that how you interpret that?
Yes, I would,
It doesn't.
I would agree.
It doesn't
Okay,
say
okay,
it, but
all right,
those of us
all right.
who were there.
I just
we
didn't want
know
us to get caught in a.
But I do, I feel the way the motion was written, you all will, if you're talking about changing anything, if you're talking about making a change from 565, you're going to have to go back and have a full commission vote.
Yeah,
I
I
think-
think,
Sure. Oh, yeah. I think that's incumbent. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Agree.
yeah, I think that is good.
Well, the question I have, how much are we paying the person that's going to be doing our meeting here in March? I guess huh?
Or our last January meeting. I'm not sure.
We can only pay
No,
what
well,
we
if
voted.
we're going to be discussing the pay, and there'll be somebody filling in for the March 1 meeting. How much are we paying that person?
We haven't decided, I don't think.
Well,
Oh, okay.
no, actually, I think that I suspect that the
The 565,
Yeah.
that's what we're paying before. So
because that's what we were paying for. Yeah.
that person would take the minutes, and they're going to hear us talking about cutting their pay. Well, that's something like
Well,
Denise
you
somebody
know,
was telling me.
Steve, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. You're jumping a little ahead here. I'm guessing we're going to have a temp in for March because we need to interview people. I mean, we need to go through a whole interviewing process here. And I don't think it's the 17th. Well, we might be able to do it by the first.
I don't think we interview him. I think Denise would be doing the interviewing.
Well, no, we should be.
Oh, it's us.
It's us. Yeah, it's us. It's
Huh?
us. It's us, Steve. We're the basically the executive committee board of directors.
Yeah.
It's called a commission, but
You want to have a face-to-face? You want to have a face-to-face meeting with the new person?
absolutely. You know, one of the things that I'm obviously very over the top on is strong HR practices.
I know.
And this is not something I think we delegate back to the county. I think we work collaboratively with them.
Well, I was talking earlier with Denise that she's located one or two people that would suffice, and I think one person's like a planner. Some of the people that are taking this little job, they're probably making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $5,000 a year jobs, and this is just something for them to make a little extra money and get involved with something. I guess I don't know, but it's not for the money because they don't really need it. It's a lot of work to do for that. So
yeah, we have one person from outside of the county who has indicated an interest and has submitted a resume, and then we need to know somebody from within the county. So I with the ARB clerk, they just sent out an email, sort of in-house and did it that way. But so that's as that's the next question. Once we come up with a pay scale, or a pay offer, do we want to advertise this simply within the county, or do we want to go outside the county?
what was the pay prior to the increase again?
It was 515 was the sort of
The increase from 5 to 65. Okay, maybe to go back to the 515 or a tad less or something like that, maybe to move along with this and then get it approved by the commission at the next meeting would be a good step forward.
Well, typically an HR decision gets made we have a spectrum of from this dollar amount to that dollar amount, and then dependent on the person's skills and abilities and experience, that we have some wiggle room here. Because let's say, the person who's been the clerk for the county, I'll just make something up, board of police officers shows up, and she's been doing this for 15 years, and she's got it down, and we've got somebody that's real crackerjack. Her spelling's outstanding. She can intuit other dialects. I mean, she just is all over the place. I would like us to have the range to be able to say, "Woo," let's be able to.
Yeah, well, we'd want somebody very experienced for sure. This is not a beginning test for somebody. This is, you know, we have a
Well,
lot
it
of
could be.
minutes.
Used
and
to be.
3
The
hours.
two first people that were secretary when I first came on, Steve, this was the first time they'd ever done anything like this, and Katrina Krimpaski was one of them.
I don't know.
That-
Anyway, the
one-
best thing would be to try and get some experience. And I think there are people out there that could do that. I think Denise, you know, Cheryl has a couple of people lined up that would be capable of doing this.
Well,
Yeah.
and back, let me just say one more thing about HR. I will pull back. If we're really going to adhere to appropriate HR and equal employment opportunities, we have got to advertise this.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, we don't have anybody lined up. We just have some, yeah, there was just an inquiry that was made in advance, but Lynn is absolutely correct. We have to advertise it in some fashion. And so
But I think that would have to be the county because it's a county employee. So the county would have to advertise it. You'd have to get the county to do that.
yes, the county would
I would lean towards
go through HR. And so, and typically HR will either advertise only internally or they will advertise internally and externally. Since we do have an outside person who is interested, we might want to do both.
Is that
Okay,
the one
good
that
deal.
student?
Hmm?
Is that the one that was the student at GMU or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, I think another place too to make sure we advertise is George Mason. And let's get Ted McCord involved here somehow and let him take a deep dive into whoever his students are and see if they would want to. Heck, they might even be able to get independent credit for doing this. It's a great way. I know Katrina used to say it's a great way to learn county history.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. That's where a young person who it is kind of neat to be part of a young person's beginning in county history, although by definition they're going to move on. They won't be here for 15 years, but they're you know, there's pros and cons that aren't there.
Well, you know,
Well, you want somebody, you know, to be here for a few years. And again, like you all mentioned, that, you know, it's a nighttime job. You know, a lot of people don't want to leave their families, well, one night a month to work from 7 to 10 o'clock at night. By the time they drive home, it's 11 o'clock at night, like that for this. And that's just part of the job. Part of the job is being there for the 3 hours. The other part of the job is spending additional time, you know, preparing these minutes, which is extensive. The Franconia Museum, we have a volunteer secretary. Our meetings last at the most between an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half. And our minutes are pretty much detailed like here at the History Commission, but they're only about 7 or 8 pages, if that much, you see. So it's not as lengthy meeting, and there's not as much detail. And a lot of the details with the county reports and so forth like that, too. And myself, personally, I actually read every word of the minutes every month once I get them. So I to get you up to date to what's going on. I read everything. A lot of people don't read it, but I read all the minutes, so I'll know what's going on.
Ooh, Steve, thank you. That's great information. Now we know who can edit our minutes for us.
Yeah. No, I don't edit it. I just read it because I'm looking, because sometimes at the meeting, things are going pretty quickly, but when it's there, you're reading about it, and it's a lot of detail about information. The things that you say I remember, Lynn, but the other people, the county minutes are sort of boilerplate type of things. But I find everything very, very interesting because, you know, I know a lot about Franconia, but not about other areas of the county. And I found all the reports interesting. And that's why I like being on the History Commission, because I find everybody's report really quite good. So there you go.
I'm with you.
On the record. Okay.
So it sounds like we're not really leaning towards the bare bones minutes, although we are going to hopefully compensate by having pre-written material. That's also, by the way, why I thought asking for reports in advance, so that you do sort of know what's going on.
Sure.
I need to see things, you know.
Wonderful if staff can accommodate it. You know, I think a lot of times they're writing, Denise will correct us, no doubt. They're writing them just to give us the most up to the minute stuff. So they're writing it on the day of the meeting. So they'd have to step back a day if we're going to get them ahead of time.
No, we have to
Although
set like a week.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you're just, yeah, it has to be distributed 3 days.
That's right,
Yeah,
Denise.
so, yeah, it's Friday, we have to, yes, it's a full week.
So you'd
And
end up using the oral part of your presentation, catching up what happened in the week that wasn't covered. You'd almost,
I
Yeah.
really don't know what's going to happen with the oral part of I'm waiting to see, I'm looking for some guidance to see, because if you have the written report, it seems silly for everybody to stand up and read what you have it's already been submitted.
what Gretchen told me that they do for Alexandria is they have a written report, and she's staff for them, for their city council people, and so they have a written report, and when they give the oral part, it's highlights and updates.
Well, I think, let me go back to something Steve said, the late night piece. You've got a student, man, they're used to that. They're used to staying up late. And I'll tell you what, when I was a student at University of Colorado, if I had a chance to depart one night for a few hours and then have to sit at a computer for $400 a month, I'd be all over that, man. I would have paid for my rent.
True. I mean, my dad was
students nowadays. Go ahead.
My dad was in the Army Reserves, which meant regular evenings away from home and 2 weeks every summer. And he did it for the money. I mean, I'm sure he was patriotic and all that, but he had 3 kids to get through college, and it was a nest egg. It was a nest egg. And so you look at some of these calculations of what they make annually. Who sent that? Did you send that, Cheryl, or did you send that?
I sent out, well, I didn't say it as well, but yeah, I sent out what the deputy clerks make in.
Oh yeah, and here's this one. Sample hourly rates that's $5,000 to $7,000 depending, and that's real money.
Yes,
if you're
it is.
saving for college, or
Absolutely.
you want to just go on a vacation next summer.
Right.
So I think that's, depending who you are, it could well be worth one night a week, one night a month, plus whatever it takes on your own time. Mm-hmm. It's not hard, it's not like studying for exams. It's fairly mindless work.
Well, I tell you, I think times have changed a great deal. I have a couple of properties that I manage here in Fairfax City, and they're George Mason students, and they're all high tech. The parents co-sign the lease. These kids don't work. Each of their rooms looks like a radio station with 3 or 4 monitors there. Really, it's unbelievable what they got going. You're not prying them out of their rooms. They're not going to come to take minutes.
Well, they're also, what's interesting, Steve, they're expected to do that. Like in a lot of their classes, they're expected to do a PowerPoint presentation for a book report. They're expected to be able to do a pie chart and talk about, what percentage of 1565 the literature was devoted to whatever by Shakespeare. I mean, they
fact is, we know there are people who are on student financial aid who need a job.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Plenty of people are wealthy and plenty of people aren't.
Yep.
That's true. That's true.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
So I say my leaning would be, if you just advertise within the county, is that does that mean you can't take people coming in off the street? Would they just not be eligible, even if they heard about it through the grapevine?
So because this position is not what they call a merit position, I think you all are free to devise your own scheme for hiring this person. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, if you just wanted to bring in this kid that sent the resume and interview him and make him an offer, I think that you could do that. It's not a merit position, so I don't think you all it has to be competitive.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to, when I was doing, well, I don't know, maybe just because it was federal money. So, just being a research assistant, my professor had to write up a job description that only I could fit.
Oh, funny.
Sort of do that,
But I'm talking about within the county systems. This clerk position, it's not an LTE, it's not merit. It's this, they don't even, I can't even find out what to do comparables. I can't even pull a comparable
yeah,
on it.
and that's what I was saying before. Of all these 81 facts, we're the only one that does this. So it's
There's two, the ARB as well.
Oh, that's right. We've already
So I just think that you all have some real flexibility in how you can hire. I don't think you must advertise. I can certainly confirm that. But
if you could confirm that, I'd like to make sure that we stay within.
because equal opportunity laws and the like usually apply.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're not. There's not a position.
I know, but we just looked at a job description, so I don't know.
That you created. There's no county position that's the clerk for the History Commission. It's just a payment that you all, it's a payment that you all have made, a position that you all have made.
It's a monthly bill.
Yeah. So, and it was converted from a contractor to employee status 3 years ago. Well, no, I'm sorry, 5 years ago. Can't do math. So in 2016. So I think, I think that you have some flexibility, but I can confirm this.
And if we have flexibility, how much flexibility do we want? Because you don't want to just interview one person,
right?
For no other reason than the way it looks, but it might not lead to the best person.
Well, I'm going to mute myself as soon as I finish this thought. Okay. When we were discussing the salary, everybody just kept telling me they can set their salary. They are free to pay this person whatever they want to pay them within their budget, So that's what I'm saying about the flexibility. There's no rate. They're giving us no guidance. And I say us, they're giving you all no guidance. I'm asking for you, but I'm getting nothing really, at all.
Yeah, well, then that's all the more reason why I think we need to be protective about this. I think we need to just not interview one person. My preference would be at least 3 and see how that goes. And if we have to advertise in the general geographic area, I think the county could give us some guidelines on that. I would think, Denise, do you know enough about, the county has a website where all the county positions that are open are listed. This where that would get advertised? No. Do you have an idea?
I seriously doubt it because it's not a county position.
Yeah.
Well, if I can say something, this is just a small, basically 3-hour position, part-time, 3-hour position.
Well, it's more than 3 hours. We've got that down. It's 10 to 12.
3 hours on site and 3 hours later. But we'd be lucky if we even find somebody. I mean, I think we just. But the one thing I would recommend to find someone that has some experience with this.
Yeah.
Like that. Who's done this before somewhere.
The number of hours is more like
10 to 12
or 12.
Yes.
To 16.
But if you take that over a month, it's 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's still a part-time little job.
It's really, yeah, exactly.
It's 3 hours on site, and you work 3 hours on site, work from home position. See, so, and you got a couple weeks to do all this stuff too. So it's a pretty good little thing. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm I really.
I'm afraid to just run with this one. I think we need to have some good boundaries on this. That's all I'm gonna say.
I agree with you, Lynn.
Okay, all right, no problem.
No, Steve,
Whatever you decide, you know.
Lynn and I are just talking about in terms of advertising and doing interviews that we do need to sort of go through a kind of
A vetting process. I think a legitimate vetting process. And Steve, you're going to be
That's-
part of
yes,
that.
ma'am.
You get to do more hours. You're going to create the grid for us that says, here's the template. Here's all the skills. Ask these questions. And are there answers 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? And then we summarize that 1, 2, 3, or 5, and then we pick the best number. That's what you're going to get to do, Steve. Steve's never going to be my friend again. Steve's never going to be my friend.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'm teasing you, darling. I'm teasing you.
I know, dear. I don't think so.
So
I've interviewed people. You know, I ran an ad years ago for a part-time secretary for my real estate office. I ran it like the Fairfax Journal. I must have like 50 calls, and I interviewed people in person. Then at the end, I was just interviewing them over the phone. It was too much to do. You see. But I got people. But this is 20 years ago, and usually most of the secretaries I had over the years were people from word of mouth. They knew somebody that could fill in and come work 3 or 4 hours a day, that type of thing. So we did it.
So Steve, as a small business owner ourselves, as a family business owner, I agree with your approach. I think I'm not saying that you shouldn't interview more than one person and that you shouldn't advertise, but I think you might be getting way too complicated for a very small position. It's a very small job.
Hey, but we can make it bigger. We could make this person help be the event planner for the commission, and then I won't have to do the history conference.
If you had 20 or 30 employees or more, you had an HR department, you could just grill these people, interview as many people as you want all day long. But this is one little position, is all this is.
Yeah, but it's
running through the county, it's through us. You can interview. If you want to meet with somebody, then you can meet with them and talk to them and see how you like them. See, that's the only problem sometimes when you meet people. So, well, maybe I want to meet you. I want to see you. You see, so that's
okay.
a whole different.
That's okay. Yeah. That's all right. I think you learn a lot by spending 20 minutes with somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree. I think it's really disorienting because we interview our volunteers.
And we're not paid.
We're just volunteers. I'm not even getting paid on this. But
do you know that history commissioners, Steve, do you know this, that history commissioners used to get paid? I bet Anne remembers when her dad was paid to be a commissioner.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, there was a time. Yep. I don't know that it was a lot of money.
I think we should bring that up again.
I think that's a great idea, Steve, personally.
I think so, maybe people will stay on the commission longer. Of course, a lot of people are there for years and years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Esther
already there longer.
We've already lived out that. Esther and I were only going to do 10 years.
So if we're going to advertise, where do we want to advertise?
Well, it sounds like we can potentially, be more flexible with that than I imagined. I assumed that we would have these protocols, set up, but it sounds like, and that explains actually, Denise, why that email looked so informal. I was kind of surprised for the ARB clerk. But just to get back to the, we are currently, the ARB is currently paying $515. And that really is kind of that was the standard that we set. Should that be our upper limit?
I think it's high.
I think so.
I feel like it's high. Oh, the upper limit for somebody who's amazing. If we're going to do a range, you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying if we're going to do a range.
Yeah.
I don't know about advertising a range if that is going to be weird, but if we want to, in terms of the
Well, the
flex-
question is,
I would say between 400 and 500, and of course with that, and then we
you
could
gotta
do the
go higher,
caveat.
gotta go higher than 400. This is Fairfax County,
Hang on,
$400.
hang on, Steve. Let me finish
Taking
my
a job
sentence.
at Wendy's soon at $15 an hour, make more than that. So, you know.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I'd say something like 400, but not have that 400 include the what was it, Social Security? Or no, tax.
Yeah, FICA.
The
The
Social Security,
FICA. Thank you.
the FICA, that's what it is.
It
Okay,
has to
so-
have the FICA be over and above that, so that actually that could be more like 450 at the end of the day.
So I do want to say that this position is not treated as a contractor. You all will be responsible for their FICA. So
Okay, so-
that's not even you have to start with that included.
Okay, so
That's
what would the
included,
FICA
so-
on 400 be then, Denise?
Yeah, I would recommend the pay is $450 plus the FICA.
So for 400 plus FICA, our cost.
No, I recommend, Lynn wants 400, I recommend $450 plus FICA.
Okay, so 450 a month plus FICA would be
Plus
480.
FICA, that way they walk away with $450 and that their FICA is being paid.
Right.
And
So
that they have to pay their own federal taxes and so forth, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
basically they're getting $450 for their work.
right. Yeah, and our cost would be 484.
Right, there you go.
I could live with that.
Okay.
Live with that.
That's fine.
Did you hear that, Steve? You and I finally agreed.
There you go, finally, thank goodness.
I love busting your chops.
What a battle. I had to pull a tooth there from you. Okay, go ahead.
And do you want to specify a range, or is 450 where you want to work at?
We'll just, I'll start out at the 450 plus the FICA and see if we get any interest. If we don't get interest or anybody, then push it up.
Do we want to include that COLA in there?
Yeah, you
No.
want to put the,
No.
no, you have to do the COLA
No,
on that.
because that's what we talked
you have
about.
to
We
do
got to
that.
give them an incentive to be, and an incentive to give them a bonus next year.
Remember, COLA's kind of little.
It is not
Yeah,
very
well,
much.
that's not much. But,
That's
you know,
true. I was just, yeah. All right. Then I think we have, so then the other,
agreement.
only last thing is how to sort of advertise it, but it sounds like we can do word of mouth advertising.
Yeah, I'd say, excuse me, a word of mouth or the county have Denise put it on whatever county sites
Do a
or
little
whatever
bit of
she does with
both.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we could put out an internal email in planning. And then if we wanted to, we could just say, commissioners, here's the job description.
Ask
Send it
around.
out to
Ask around.
anybody you think might be interested in.
Okay.
The,
Is that reasonable? Denise, have I violated federal law yet?
I would just put a range of how long you're leaving this open and when you expect to,
Correct.
take interviews, that sort of thing.
Okay, yes, that we need to.
A timeline for tasks. Hiring
Yes,
tasks.
exactly.
I think we could share it for a couple of weeks, and maybe at the end of a couple of weeks have some responses. I definitely want to make sure that Ted McCord and anybody else that he thinks that George Mason could.
And I don't know whether he's still there or not, because I just met him back in the
He is.
fall. Is he still there?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, because I just saw him back. I showed up my old house out in Fairfax, where he grew up in, and I thought he's getting ready to retire. I know that he's older than I am, a bit older, and
Oh my God! You're kidding.
I thought he was going to retire or do something. I don't know, talking about getting a pension or something. So, yeah.
Hey, Steve, you're not getting a pension for sitting on the History Commission. Let me just tell you
No
that.
pension. I don't get any pension.
No.
Well, I'm old enough to
Misled
get Social
you.
Security. I get Social Security. So there you go.
You're funny.
So
So we
make it-
also, another play, if we felt that we weren't getting much traction, there is there's a job board at George Mason
Mhm.
where employers can post. And I didn't notice that there's a fee, but they want you to do a few paragraphs on whatever it is.
And
Well,
the job board's online, right, Ann? The job board
Yeah.
is online. Okay. Good.
I think anybody, I think there's a couple of people in the loop that might be interested now. And I think anybody that says they would be definitely interested for the job and you tell them to pay and they said, gee, that sounds okay to me, I think, and they've had some experience of some sort, I think to hire them.
You know,
Steve,
I think-
wait, I want to see a resume. I want to see something. Is that what you're
Well,
going to
yeah,
say?
I mean, maybe they can show a resume. That's because they give you a resume or.
Yeah,
do
I
what
think
they're
that
doing.
maybe, I think we need to see a summary of skills and abilities. KSAs, knowledge, skills and abilities.
I think if
Okay.
are we going to share this with all the commissioners because word of mouth is a real
Yes,
it's a
Yes.
real
Yeah,
thing.
word
We
of mouth,
may
absolutely,
find
word of mouth, absolutely, yeah.
we may find someone in our midst who's just perfect. I had a person in Vienna I thought would be just perfect, and then I saw her work and I realized she's not good enough. But that doesn't mean, there's going to be some really wonderful people out there, and I'm glad we got that one resume because he obviously is already interested. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Of course, he might think that it's a $515.
I was just going to say that, Cheryl.
yeah.
Well, I tell you, if somebody's really good, we don't want to lose them over from 450 to 45 to 515.
Hey,
we want to get somebody good, and we don't want to lose good people. Okay, we just don't want to do that.
Steve, we will powwow on this again.
Okay.
It's not our
All right,
last.
but you can interview the people. Okay.
Well, in terms of what we're recommending for the commission to vote on, we want.
I think they get till St. Patrick's Day. Because that's a month from today. That's a month from today.
So it would, since we need the commission to vote in order to do this, would start beginning the day after our next meeting. That would open at some point.
Right.
And would go. Let's see, St. Patrick's Day. You're suggesting?
It's the 17th. I'm just picking a month to month. And if they want to send a resume in, Denise, who do they send their resume to?
Wait, yeah, I want to back up. I will answer that question, but I think Cheryl's, you can't advertise this position if you're going to advertise it for a different salary amount than what you've already agreed that the salary for the clerk is. You have.
Why they aren't going to advertise it until after the vote at the next meeting, I think.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I misunderstood Lynn. I thought she was saying she was going to hold it open for a month starting from today till March 17th.
Oh, I just, because we know that's the only thing.
Okay, I got it.
You're saying because we're not advertising because we're word of mouthing, Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we shouldn't actually send things out as such, or at least not formally, until you have a vote from the commission that this is what the parameters of the job are.
On the 3rd.
Yeah, so the job opening, we would start accepting applications potentially as early as the 4th. And then, if you want a full month, or do you want to just sort of like keep it short and just have like 2 weeks, and they have to be in by the 18th, and then we do interviews after that.
So our next meeting is March 3rd.
3rd.
So I say open it for a month. We put the word out the 3rd, or do we want to make it shorter than that?
So in terms of what we have to pay Ryan or whoever, we're stuck paying Ryan the $565
Right.
till
That's right.
until we've got a new price in effect.
Now, let me ask you: is Ryan the fellow that's interested in the job, or no?
No, he was our temp. this month,
Oh,
earlier
temp.
this month.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He's
Okay.
the ARB guy, right?
Right.
Oh,
But we are going to have, I've secured another temp for March.
Uh-huh.
And so she will, she will be paid that upper.
That's to get the
upper price.
565, right?
Are they be
Mhm.
565 or would it be 515?
I think it's what
Well,
we voted.
So what I
This is
just,
what we voted is 565, including the FICA.
Okay. Hey guys, I hate to be a party pooper here. I've got to get ready for my class at 9. Or do we have any other decisions here that you would need any input on for here?
So-
We got the timeline.
So what's that timeline then? Do you want to go through to the,
I think we should give it a 30-day.
okay.
Well, I don't know. That's what I
That-
think.
That
Steve,
means
Capita-
we'll have a temp in April as well, most likely.
Right.
would
Yeah,
you all be interested in asking the person who solicited you, would you be interested in asking him to temp for you?
Ooh, then that's
Ooh,
a
yeah. That's the best way to find out if somebody's good. Bring in a temp and make a temp to perm.
That's a good idea, Denise.
Okay. So let's do 30 days because
Okay.
if we see somebody that we like, we don't have to wait 30 days, right?
Yeah, and
Right.
if we do a temp to perm thing here, we will have already seen a sample of their minutes.
Is
Mhm.
that true that
Okay.
giving 30 days doesn't tie us into 30 days? Is it we can hire and cut it short to 2 days and it's not unfair? I guess if you were applying to a job and said, okay, I got my thing in, and you were informed the job's already taken, you just say, oh, too bad.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, Lynn, before you go, a little
Yeah.
art lesson.
Yes.
This is an oil painting by a lady named Esther Stewart. And this is an oil painting by a lady. You might have seen him in my office.
Uh-huh.
And she painted the mural on the old courthouse wall on the stairs. I'll
Uh-huh.
show you a picture that looks sort of like that.
Oh,
And
oh.
it's big. So
Yeah, I can see.
when it's big up on the wall on the stairs
Yes.
in the old courthouse, the middle-aged courthouse. And
Oh.
so now you know where 3 of her paintings are.
Now tell me her name again.
Esther Stewart.
Esther Stewart. Okay. STU or STEU?
SEW. Esther
Oh.
Lippincott Stewart.
Oh.
So sorry, I just wanted to catch you before you run to your
No, that was really sweet. That was really sweet. I love to see other artists' work. It inspires me because I'm working on a painting right now, actually. So that's wonderful.
1950s.
Oh,
So that's VPC and
I see.
Pennywise. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. That's very sweet.
Sorry, everybody.
Okay.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Okay.
You guys need me for anything else right now?
Actually, Lynn, just 2 seconds before you go,
Sure.
just for the record,
Yeah.
let me say that what we have agreed to tonight, without going through the formalities of a vote, it's really just a very small group here.
Right.
So you can dissent if I'm incorrect, that we are going to go with the job description with subtle adjustments based on what we discussed tonight, the specification of pay and the timeline. That's okay. This is what we're going to recommend to the commission on our next meeting. We're going to recommend a pay of $450 plus we'll cover the FICA cost. And the job will open on March 4th and close April 2nd.
Sounds good.
Are you good with that as well?
Yeah.
Sounds
okay.
good.
So did you want to make a motion and we vote on it?
We could.
Sure.
That's what she just did.
Okay, so I second it. Everything that Cheryl just said, I second.
I do whatever it takes. Oh, vote aye. That's my.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And since Steve's been taking notes, we don't have to worry about this, right?
Oh, Denise is.
It's all in my mind, Lynn.
You are
Oh,
so
man, that's like a steel trap.
You are so mean. You guys, we're getting done in time to watch part 2 of The Black Church. This is our story. This is our song.
Oh, I'm sorry you got to do that. I've got to go off to class and talk about funerals tonight.
Well, that's fun.
Good one.
Do you have the book Being Dead is No Excuse, Lynn?
No, but I need it.
It is the cutest book, and I have it downstairs on sale. I'll save it for you.
Please.
I'll mail it to you. It's so wonderful.
I'll pay you for it.
It's it's the cutest book.
I appreciate that.
It's the guide to Southern funerals.
Oh, how funny.
It's my Bible.
Actually, since I'm doing interfaith funerals, that would be a good idea. I need to know Southern. We are using a book called Remembering Well.
It has casseroles and aspic and stuff for the.
Oh, how darling. Oh, cute. Oh, and I'm in an all-lady class, so they'll love it. They'll love it. That's very nice of you. Thank you. Thank you.
I've been trying to decide who it's sitting there on the sale shelf, and I keep thinking, this is my favorite book in the whole world. It must go to the right person. Boom. You're the right person.
Oh, thank you. That was really nice, Anne. That touches my heart. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Because this is a hard semester.
Like this. They inject a bit of humor.
We need that.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, kids.
Okay.
I'm gonna sign off.
Thank you. I think
I've gotta go.
we are done. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're
Good job,
done.
everybody.
Yay.
Bravo,
night. Have a
bravo,
good evening.
bravo.
Bye.
Okay, love you
Bye.
guys. See you
Bye.
soon.
Cheryl, can you stay on for a moment?
Yep, I got it.
Denise.
Bye. Thank you. Okay, hang on for just a second. All right. So I'm looking at one thing that I need to confirm for you is that you are free to advertise and hire at will.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident because as you see the lackadaisical way that all of this is being handled, it just seems to be. Oh, I'm still recording.
Sorry.
That's okay. Stop.